This conference will now be recorded.
Let us please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, all. Happy New Year to all of us, or to all of you. The next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors will take place Monday, January the 30th, 2023 at 9 o'clock at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida, 33872. Please silence or turn off your cell phone. We'll start with the consent agenda, minutes of the Board of Supervisors regular meeting held December the 9th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any board comments on it? Of course, I have a comment. I got to tell you, if you read through them, they're horrible. This company is not doing us a justice. For example, on page 8, everything under the finance director is basically wrong. So I don't know how we fix this, but everything, points 2, 3, and 4, they got wrong. So I don't know who's doing this for us, but certainly we got to look into it. I'll just leave it at that. I'll give you the specifics. There's numerous errors. They're not even close. Any public comments? We have a vote?
Oh. Do we need to amend it before we approve it? I believe we need to amend it before we approve it, so therefore, I guess the vote, well, you can still vote.
I'm sorry? I think
My
Craig
question,
brought, yeah. Mhm.
my statement was that we should amend the minutes before we approve them.
Okay, well, there's a motion and a second to accept them. So if someone wants to make a motion to table it, then make a motion to table it. We can second that and take a vote on it.
I move to table it until those corrections are made to the minutes. I'll second it.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the
We're
new
going to
motion.
vote on tabling it, correct?
And then let's vote on that.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes, so I will get together with Carl,
Okay,
and we'll make the changes for the next meeting.
correct.
Okay.
I would just briefly state that if we see that there's problems in the minutes, that we've had these for a week, we could probably have them corrected by our time of our meeting if we just go talk to Cora or go talk to somebody who can correct them.
That's probably true,
Okay.
but I didn't go over them until this weekend.
I'm just saying, anything, if there's any changes, we have them for a week, we could have them changed. Okay.
It's obvious that nobody else saw anything that was wrong. Okay, let's go forward. Treasurer's report, oh, there is no treasurer's report. That was a misprint. It has not been made available to us, so we will address that at the next meeting.
That's an Inframark issue as well.
I'm sorry?
That is an Inframark issue as well. They haven't done the November financials.
Yeah, I'll mention more in my notes. Hopefully we hope to have them today or tomorrow. They had a system error on their side, so it's taken them a while, and plus the holidays. But like I said, I hope to have them today or tomorrow, and I'll send them to each of you and put them out on the website. But I've also voiced to them, we need to have them sooner, and we'll keep raising that up with them and run that up the chain over there.
This is not the first issue we've had with Inframark I'll just remind everybody, we're paying them about 135,000 a year. And I don't believe that they're fulfilling their end of the obligation. So one day we're going to have to address this, hopefully sooner than later.
How do we address it? David?
I
I can
would-
take, yeah, I can take a look at the contract if if we think that they're in breach of the
I
contract.
believe it's a month-to-month contract.
Okay,
That's what I remember.
yeah. So,
We address it by deciding that we
Bring it back in-house.
bring it back in-house. But we have to have conversations with Dan here on if they're in the position to do it at this point in time, so.
Correct.
It's a conversation, maybe we can put it on the next agenda to have a conversation item from Mark and get the updated from the district side as well as our opinions on the information that we're getting.
Well, I think we should, because every month we hear this, every month. You know, there's a problem, there's a problem. Well, let's get it fixed now. If there's a problem and we can bring it back in-house where we didn't have as much problem with this, let's bring it back in-house. I mean, $125,000 a year is a lot of money.
Let's put it on,
I don't disagree. However, it's not just like flipping a switch. You got to have the right people to do the job. And you're either captive of them or you're captive of your own people. I think ultimately that's where we should go, but it's going to take a while to get it done.
and if you want to have a conversation to put out a timing on what we want to do,
well, if the next meeting is on January 30th, which is effectively the end of the month, and if the contract has a 1-month cancellation, if we were to, if the board decided at that January 30th meeting that they wanted to cancel the contract, it wouldn't be canceled until the end of February. So we can start,
I think we should have the conversation. I don't want to put any pressure on the district if they're not ready to do this.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
All right, we got to be ready to do it.
Yeah.
And you need to tell us when you think you can do that.
So the district needs to be looking at the timeline to go back in-house.
I think they would have to give us the timeline.
Yes.
If we decide that we want to make the change for sure, the district would have to lead in giving us a timeline on when we could do it.
If I understand correctly, the contract, and I haven't looked at it, it's kind of a cafeteria deal. You can pick which part of it you want and which part of it you don't. It's pretty simple for us to bring the minutes back in-house and the preparation of the package. The issue is having enough people, Dane, to do your own financials.
So why don't we do this? Let's bring it up at the next meeting. You
We'll do so.
guys work out.
We'll get some more details.
Assuming
Like-
that
Like
we
Dan
are
said, it's
gonna-
not like flipping a switch.
I understand, but
we-
assuming
and I-
that we're going to look to replace them, I would appreciate you guys giving us a timeline on when you think that could be accomplished.
And I'd also, yeah, I'd like to talk to them a little bit more, see if I can't run it up the chain to see if we can't get better performance out of them first. Like I've told you guys,
There was a lot of things in the agreement that they promised that they haven't delivered on.
I think that the board is ready to bring everything back in-house, and we're looking to you to give us a timeline of when we can do that. And if I'm wrong, please tell
All
me.
right. Yeah, originally,
I
I
think
think I
that's
spoke to
the
you guys, and my original plan was to get the staff up, typically you like to do this either mid-year or end of year, a transition for financials. We can move that up, but like Dan was saying, we got to get the staff in and we got to get the training done to make it a smooth transition. This could go bad if it's a horrible transition. So I want to make it done right. And we're ready, set to go. I have no problems bringing it back in-house. I just want to make sure it's done right.
Yeah, it's beyond just the numbers. You also got, they do the accounts payable for us. So we need to make sure that is on board as well. Or maybe you leave that there and bring the rest of it in-house. Let us talk about it. We'll bring it back to you with a recommendation next meeting.
So let's put it on the agenda for the 30th conversation. Any other questions on that? No. Golf financials, we'll do October of 2022 first. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any comments from the board on the October financials? Are there any public comments? Oh. Are there any public comments on the October financials? We have a vote?
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes. Okay, the golf financials for November of 2022. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any board comments?
Making enough.
Huh?
Just not making enough.
I got a couple of concerns. One is, if you look at your sheet, that is the by-month sheet. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's the monthly sheet. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the prior year actual numbers that are on that sheet are from 2 years ago, which would make them all wrong. I could be wrong.
I'll double check.
I'm pretty sure I'm right, though.
Is that my card?
So they need to be adjusted, obviously, because it makes all the other numbers, comparisons not accurate.
Okay.
I did mention, and I'll bring this to the board's attention, I did have a brief conversation with Mike. My concern, one of my concerns were the number of rounds that were down. And I just brought it to Mike's attention because to me, it's a red flag type of thing. We're down about 2,600 rounds in the first 2 months. And that just possibly spells trouble. Now, I will also commend Mike for keeping the expenses in control with the decreases in the number of rounds and obviously with the revenues. But it's a red flag that we are down that much in rounds after the first 2 months of the year. Anybody want comments on that?
Just also, that is absolutely correct. And as you've seen, my weekly reports that I send to you guys, I've noted that we've noted that for October. Well, October rounds were down a pretty good chunk due to the 2 weeks after the hurricane. It was pretty slow. November was down as well. The majority of which are member rounds. And you also got to remember that the first quarter last year, we were extremely busy. And I don't want to keep going back to pandemic stuff, but during the pandemic, golf had a massive boom. So it was actually really good for the golf business. And then we have seen that decrease. And, I've sent you some numbers based on the National Golf Foundation. That is kind of a worldwide thing, really. But those numbers are national. But I do want to note, I told you that we were slightly more aggressive with some of our off-peak rates and things like that. And I do want to note that the first 8 days through January, we're actually up rounds over prior year. So hopefully that trend continues, but it is something that we are keeping track of as well.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. We made a change in the format of average rates.
Correct.
You want to tell everybody what we did?
Sure. So as of, for the board, it was asked to split out our public rates and our outing rates and our public APRs. So that is now based off of, just to split them up so it would make more sense for everybody. That was,
Well,
Mr.
here's what happened. My concern was we put out this piece of paper that says, this is the most we'll charge for public rates.
Right.
And I said, well, how do I ever compare that to anything? So we made the change. So if you look at that one page, which I guess is page 4, profit center contribution, the average rate for the month was $32.43. That's for non-members, non-events. It's just people that came to play golf on our course. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, which one were you looking at?
Huh?
I'm trying to follow you here. Which one were you looking at?
average rate.
It says profit center number 4 at the very bottom left. And it says, if you go up to the month to date, it says 32.43. So if it's what I thought it is, that's what we're charging people who are coming in off the streets. Not members, not outings, just off the street. That's what we were trying to do. Is that what that is?
You're looking at in the profit center, which,
It's rounds and key performance indicators. It's your typical sheet.
on
And then you go down.
The
Okay, you said you
KPI.
couldn't do it
Average.
for October,
So
but
the
you could
average-
do it for November, so I'm assuming that's what that is.
The
correct?
average, yeah, so you got the average rate public, so that is our greens
32,
fees divided by
43
public rounds.
Was the average price we charged
Correct.
for an
Per public
outside,
round.
somebody who's not a member, and
Correct.
not part of an.
Outside of a tournament, correct.
Right.
That is
Does that
correct.
include the hotel?
Correct, yes.
Now, the only thing I'm going to point out, this is like a good news, bad news scenario. I think it's great to have this type of information,
Mhm.
but the published pricing, the published rate that we put out
Mhm.
was not to exceed $63 for the month of November,
Correct.
and we averaged 32.43.
Right, so, if you wanted to, if I broke it out for you and we looked at the rates per categories and off-peak, because that includes twilight, it includes the 9-hole rounds, it includes all of those, so it does drop it down. It'd be way easier to sit down and show you how that breaks out. And you can see, well, I can also show
I
you,
guess my point is, one of these two was wrong. Either we're telling people $63 with no intention whatsoever of even trying to get there, and that should be lowered next time, or we're giving away free golf.
well, we're definitely not giving away free golf, but if I could show, we could break it down into rates per categories if you wanted to sit down and break out all of our different categories
This
of
is off the
play.
streets. It's
Hotel
one
rates,
It's one category to
resident,
me, people
it's
who come
also
in to play golf.
resident rates as well.
I'm just throwing it out to
Mhm.
let you know that we're going to be looking at this, because
Mhm.
it's embarrassing to say $63 in print and have it to be $32 in actuality, to me.
Right, I think it would make more sense if you saw a breakdown per categories.
I'd say let's go ahead and break it down next month, just so that we can see. You don't have to, I don't necessarily say continue that, but I'd like to see what your breakdown is,
For a
so
month?
that how it reflects into this price.
It also depends on time of day and day of week and how many, you can build a spreadsheet about that big if you really want to look at it. We're really paying these guys to manage it.
Yeah, but we're putting our signature on $63.
That's a maximum, I guess. I wasn't here when you
Yeah,
did it.
it is a maximum. No, you're right. It's a maximum.
And it's in prime time and it doesn't include all the other things you're talking about.
I just would like to see
I could,
how it comes about. And I'm not saying we need to do it every month. I just would like to see it one time.
Okay, if you could do that for,
I'll do it for
I
December.
think you
for
can sit down with Mike individually and get more information than you can get in a public meeting.
any other board comments on November? Any public comments on November? May we have a vote, please?
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes,
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes. Okay, public comments. This is public comments for anything that's not on the agenda to be discussed at sometime today. Anybody from the audience want to get up and make a statement? Yes, if you don't. Yes, ma'am. Come up, state your name and what you want to say.
Amy Strike, 651816, sorry. I think of my neighbors. Kansas Drive. First of all, I'm up here also to speak on Dixie Smith's behalf. She couldn't make it today. She just wanted me to say on record that she appreciates that you guys are working on figuring out the issue of what we entailed on the 16th of September from the torrential rain. So, like I said, she just wanted me to say thank you, that she appreciates that you guys are doing it. And then I know you and I have spoke, but I also want to know, right, do you have kind of like a timeline on when these backflow valves will at least get put in?
It's all predicated on getting everybody's stuff back in. We've gotten back in 8 of 12. They have until today to do it. And then as soon as I get them back in, it should be done the next 2 weeks after that,
Okay. So at least by the end of February.
I would think, yes.
Okay. And then my other neighbors, Sandy and Steve, that live in 6518, she wanted to let you guys know that she has been trying to get a hold of the insurance adjuster here through Sun and Lake, and she's not getting a return phone call.
Do we have an insurance adjuster?
I assume you mean from our insurance company?
Yes, yeah.
I have their number and I can get them an email. That's easy enough.
Can you do that for her, please? Because like I said,
Who wants it?
Sandy, Julia,
Oh, Julie Flack.
yeah,
Sure, I can do that.
because she's not getting a return phone call. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You have to come up to the microphone, please. State your name. What?
Hi, my name's Kay Dale. I put a card in the basket, so I hope this is the right time. I retired a year and a half ago and moved here in April to a new house. I signed the contract for the house sight unseen. I had never been to Sebring or Sun and Lake or anything. And I want to start by saying I am so thrilled that I live here. I have a new house in Deer Run, and I'm just very happy and pleased. But I do have a couple of concerns. So I thought I would come and let you know what those are. Most of what I have to say has to do with a lack of communication. And I think some of them are safety concerns. We apparently some of us, all of us, I don't know, because we never got good communication. We were under a boil water between Christmas and New Year's. But the way I found out was through word of mouth. That is a safety concern to me. Water is important. We have to have it and it has to be clean. I did communicate, I emailed Christopher, but then Dan is the one who answered because I guess Christopher is out of the loop now. And I want to say that I'm very happy and pleased that Dan did that. But back after Ian, when we had the boil water, I got the email blast. I got all the information, but then in December, I got nothing. So something is wrong with the communication here. Also, you have a Facebook page that has almost 4,000 members on it. Put the information on there. There is no reason not to put things like that on the Facebook page. The way I found out we weren't under the boil water anymore in December was there's another Facebook page that a resident runs. And I said, hey, anybody know, are we still under boil water? And somebody else, another resident came on and said, well, the hospital was told yesterday that it's okay. Again, if I had known there was a boil water, I wouldn't have known it was off. Communication is important. Another concern I have, and I'm not sure who to tell this to, so I'm going to tell you all, is the drainage. I have a brand new build in Deer Run. It is not the builder's fault that when we had that terrible storm back in September, 2 weeks before Ian, I lived in a castle with a moat around it. There's something wrong with the drainage. I know that this community is 40 years old. I don't know how old the drainage in my area is, but maybe it needs to be cleaned out because when Ian came, again, I had a moat. Now, I understood with Ian because that was a hurricane, but it shouldn't happen during a regular rainstorm. Yes, sir.
What is your address, ma'am?
4847 San Ignacio.
Santi.
San Ignacio, Ignacio. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. This is another thing that I don't know. I know you all don't probably have control over this or dominion over it, but maybe just, again, some communication would help. I was driving from the pool one day and I was behind the golf cart on the street when there's a path running parallel to the street. That bothers me. But even worse that day was there was a child. I'm a retired school teacher, so I'm pretty good at judging ages. There was a child between the ages of 8 and 10 driving that golf cart on a public street. Now, he did have what I believe was probably his grandparents in the cart, but they were not in control of that cart. The age to be able to drive a golf cart is supposed to be 14 by state law. And so that already was a problem. But why can't the golf carts drive on the pathways when there's a pathway that's running parallel to the street? I don't understand that. And again, it may just be you all putting the information out and saying, hey, folks, this is really what you should be doing. Because I asked if I could ride my bicycle on the golf cart, on the golf paths, and oh my gosh, you would have thought I asked if I could hang people. So,
It's 5 minutes.
that's 5 minutes? Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have something else that you want to give?
No, I was just
Okay.
going to thank you again.
I think
for what you
what we
do.
can do is we can have somebody check out your residence as far as your drainage problem.
Mhm.
And they'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
As far as people driving golf carts where they shouldn't be, we agree with what you're saying, but it's kind of tough to monitor that. And
I don't expect you to monitor it, but just get the word out that it's not okay. You know, again, it's a communication
I think-
thing.
You did receive email blasts though, the first time on the boil water, but
During Ian, I did, but
not
not
the
in
second.
December.
that should not have happened.
I
We,
know.
we have addressed the issue already.
Okay.
But again, please use the Facebook page that you have set up. It would be a real asset.
Ms. Dial emailed Chris, I responded, and as soon as I did that, I looked and figured out what was wrong and got it fixed. So that's done. But then secondly, I agree with you on the Facebook page, and this lady right here is going to take care of all that for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Yes, sir. State your name and
Daniel Garvin, 4505 Calatrava Avenue. Just wondering if we have a report on or a timeline or anything on what's taking place between Calatrava Homes and the golf course. I know that some work has begun on that drainage,
right.
but it was just clearing. There's nothing that we could see that's about opening up.
You'd like me to address that?
Yeah.
Our engineer is looking now at doing a hydrology study to figure out how wide we need to make that. At a minimum, that ditch will be doubled. And then upstream from that, we're looking at putting in a couple of structures as well. And it all depends on how much water we have to deal with. We're also in my report, one of the problems was there are two intakes in the stormwater management lake upstream. They got covered up with debris. So we're going to put skimmers in there so they'll stop that. So I guess the answer is there are multiple issues that are being addressed right now. It all depends on how long it takes him to get his work done and then how long it takes us to get it taken care of. We did go ahead and clean it out so now that we can get equipment in there and actually make the ditch wider away from your home.
Right, yeah, I saw that. The drains though don't seem to have been cleared upstream of that.
Right.
So, but are we looking at a month, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it might be?
Certainly within 6 months, hopefully within 3.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's only a matter of time and money, right? Just got to figure it out.
Anybody else, public comments? Okay. See if I can get this right. It's my last meeting. Scott Korowak. Did I do that right? No. Well, that's it. I gave it my best shot.
You're getting close. You can certainly just call me Scott. Commissioner Scott Kerouac for the record. Not a lot to report. Just want to wish everybody a happy new year. And I received an email, a good email this morning when I pulled up in your parking lot. The county received reimbursement in record time for Hurricane Ian for debris removal. We received a payment of almost $6.2 million on Friday. Hurricane Irma took the county almost 2 years to get reimbursed. So we're very happy with that. We do utilize some different resources this year that was made available to us at no charge on the billing procedures and what have you. So I think that probably helped out some. But that certainly is good news for all the county taxpayers that we receive that money back, and that will go back into our reserve and replenish our reserve account. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot going on. The new year's upon us. Before too long, we'll be starting on our budget process again, because that certainly is a 6-7 month process for us. But so far so good. We keep moving forward. I'll be glad to answer any questions if staff or supervisors or residents have any.
Any questions?
I got, Scott, I read in the paper that you're working on phase 4.
The Parkway?
Yes, sir. Is there any more phases other than that? I mean,
Not that I've been informed of at this point.
Okay.
Phase 4 would connect on the roundabouts over towards 17 to connect into Arbuckle Creek Road.
yes,
And
yeah, I
that
know
was good
that.
news. Yeah, we did receive, they get approved here a few weeks back, some federal funding, $1.1 million
Yeah.
towards that project. So that'll lighten the load on the county. And the state is sharing in that cost also.
Yeah, I read that you get 1.1, but the county's contribution will be at least 1.7.
Yeah, but
Is
that
that
will also,
correct?
that will be including some state money that's going to be coming in and some state cost share money. But on the federal and Congressman Greg Stubbe, who's no longer our congressman because of the district change, he advocated for that funding for us, and we were fortunate to get that pushed through. So
Okay,
that will help, yes.
but there's no other phases. I mean, it will be complete.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much at that point, yeah. No other phases planned at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for Scott? Any public comments for Scott? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, action agenda, election of officers. There are four that we have to do.
Mhm.
President, vice president, secretary,
Treasurer.
treasurer.
Mhm.
So let's start with the president so I could pass this gavel. Do I have any nominations for the next president of the board?
I'd like to nominate Craig
Craig who?
Herrick.
Speak into the
Oh, you don't know
mic.
who Craig is?
No, but.
How long you been on this board?
We got it.
Mr. Hurley, speak into the mic. Mr. Hurley, speak into the microphone,
Yes,
please.
please.
Say it again.
I'd like to nominate Craig Herrick, please.
I second it.
Any board comments? Any public comments? Let us vote. Do we want to ask him? Oh, no, we'll vote.
Yeah, go ahead. Call the vote.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
You can abstain.
Abstain.
You can abstain for that.
I get to say,
You should probably vote no.
yeah, I should. I really should. Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's all yours.
Whoopee. That will take nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Beverly.
Any other
Vice
nominations?
I'll
President.
second that.
Any other nominations? Nominations closed. Vote.
President Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips.
Yes.
I resign. Sorry.
Is there a budget amendment?
Okay, nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Dane. I'd say your last name, but I probably screwed that up.
Second.
Any other nominations?
Very formal.
Nominations closed. Those in favor, go ahead, vote.
Okay. Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes. Nominations for board secretary.
I nominate Coral.
Want to be second?
I'll second it.
Any other nominations? Nominations closed. Vote.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes.
And just real quick, now that all the officers have been elected, we just want to make sure that the board is aware. And I don't think that it requires board action, but with Dan as our interim general manager, we need his name on the treasurer's, on the bank statements or the bank accounts. We just want to make sure that the board has no issue with putting Dan on and taking Chris off.
None.
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 Okay.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
Is the right person?
Can we do that this afternoon?
Next action agenda is the budget amendment 7B.
We need a motion in a second.
Need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion. What's for Dan?
I'll second.
no, it's the budget.
Oh, okay. Yes, that would help me.
Budget amendment, Dane, you want to explain this, please?
Yes, this is for moving funds that had not been spent last year into this year's budget to cover them. So it's just a carry forward of last year's budgeted funds.
Okay, the funds were there in 22.
Greg,
Yep,
I
and then the
can't
invoice.
speak into the,
Where are we at on the microphone so that we don't have this issue going on where we,
Hello, Cameron from Mid-Florida IT. We have ordered the transmitter packs. We're just waiting for the receivers. Coral and I are working on it. We were just here last Friday working on it. So we're in process. Hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have it taken care of. We're working as quickly as we can.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so these were the funds that we had budgeted last year, and you've moved them into the 22,
Exactly.
23 budget, or
Correct.
fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
Is this just the golf? This is just golf, is it not?
Correct.
So every
Part of the irrigation project.
Yes.
This is the irrigation and just the irrigation.
Just irrigation.
So there's 312,000 still outstanding.
Correct.
Any other board discussion? Any public discussion? Take a vote.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
yes,
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes. Next action item is 7C, irrigation, purchase an air-to gas aerifier.
Jimmy, what?
Jimmy, we
need a motion.
Motion.
Second. Okay. Jimmy, you want to come up and explain this, please? Jimmy Murphy is superintendent of the grounds.
Good morning, Supervisors. Congratulations on your elections. Ray, I've enjoyed working with you as well. Real quick, the air to gas is a machine that we've rented twice this past season. It's helped us a bunch, mainly to help us to go and fracture anywhere from 6 to 12 inches and increase our drainage and improve our roots on our greens. So my game plan was agronomically still to rent this thing again next year. So the opportunity came up with Foley International, who's actually a partner with Wesco. And once I seen the Wesco Turf as our irrigation vendor, so once I seen the credit coming back, in lieu of renting it, we got offered to purchase it. So that's why I try to put as much documentation as quick as I could together for you while that opportunity still arises. So basically, I broke it down. When we do our ninja tining, which we just did last week, it took us 3 workers, 3 laborers, an operator, greens mower, and everything to clean up after we got done with the ninja tining. So the beauty of this machine is that we can go deeper, go more often, and pinpoint certain areas on the greens if we need them. It's basically going to be a winter tool. So we'd have a savings of the ninja tines and the labor in the winter time and have the flexibilities to do it anytime we need it any time all through the year. It also will help us in some of our wet areas, break up some of the surface drainage as well. If there's wet areas, we can go out there and fracture those and get the water off of them, whether it be a collar or a fairway or anything else.
Any board discussion?
So what you're saying, if we buy it, you'll be able to use it more than just the short time that you used it when you rent it? There'll be much.
Yes, the
there'll be
reason I
other
only
times.
used it twice was just due to the fact that it was $2,800 a week to rent.
Okay, and there's also savings of labor on this too?
Yes, sir.
Your workers?
Yep. There's no disturbance. We can go out there with this machine, use it, and then you can putt right across it.
I think we figured the number is about $8,000 a year cost savings from having this.
To buy it.
So it pays for itself in 3.5 years. And then you still have the machine as opposed to renting it.
And what's the lifespan on this, Jimmy? I know,
10 to 15 years, maybe 20 years. I mean,
Wow.
it's going to last us a long time. It's, there's really not, I know when you guys come back and look at the shop, there seems like there's a lot of equipment back there, but we pretty much utilize everything we have back there. It's some of it's seasonal, but this machine, we can use in the summertime in between. If we start getting sealed off or feel like if we get our greens too wet, we can go out there and go right behind it and punch them and drain them as quick as they got wet. So it's a great tool. It's definitely the future. They've been around for a few years now. They're having more and more benefit studies on them. The universities are getting on board with them. And, they're about $45,000 new. And so we just had an opportunity to purchase a demo unit that will come with a 1-year warranty as well.
So the warranty comes with it, okay.
Yes, sir.
And how about maintenance on it?
Maintenance is just a compressor and a hydraulic pump.
So you guys can handle that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. That's all.
How many times a year do you think you use something like this?
If I had it, Bev, I'd probably do
Like
it.
last year with all the rain and stuff that we had.
If I had it, I'd probably use it a minimal of 10 to 15 times. If I had it in the winter right now, I'd probably do it every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Any further board discussion? Public comments? Call a vote?
Supervisor Gilpin,
No.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7D, Assessment Appeals Committee recommendations.
Motion?
So moved. Move to.
Second?
Okay. David?
Yeah, I don't know how much information you guys want. I mean, the report's pretty self-explanatory. If you've got questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, you can just vote and to move forward with the recommendations and we'll take care of it.
I got a question. What's the difference between B, C, and E? Not the results, the claim.
Oh, you mean the dollar amounts?
No, what they were asking for.
Said B as in boy.
B, C, and E, if I read it correctly, were all the same,
Oh, yeah, well, there was lots of very similar requests.
but 2 were accepted and 1 was denied.
Oh, there might have been the actual result of the properties, because there were some specific properties that had, there were some billing errors, for lack of a better term. So we just didn't, when we sent out the bills, and actually we found some irregularities that we're going to make sure we get corrected.
So what's the difference between B, C, and E? Outside of nobody showed up for one of them. I guess my point is, if I read them as being the same, so regardless of whether somebody showed up to defend them or not.
It was
they should
nothing
all
to
be
do,
treated
it was
the
nothing
same.
to do with if they showed up or not. B, I believe, had moved into the property and was unaware of past assessments and bonds.
Right.
We looked at the property, found that the billing was correct. And the assessments, we should recommend that they stay. It was more of they were just unaware when they hadn't done their due diligence when they purchased the property to find out if there was assessments or not. So we recommend, or excuse me, I'm looking at this right now. I apologize.
I just say B, C, and E are the same thing.
Yeah, and some of them, this looks like it was a, all right, so BC are the same property owner, all in one. So it applies there.
E is the same situation, a different property, right?
Okay, so we looked at B and C and found out that there was a billing error on those two. That's why we're recommending an adjustment there. E, while B and C both had, they were unaware of past assessments, as we did further research into the properties, there was a billing issue.
So is E. That's what it says.
But
I'm
there
saying
weren't
it.
any
No,
errors-
E,
there weren't any errors on E.
yeah, there was no errors on E. It was just the resident purchased property with prior assessments. And we dug into the property and realized that the assessments were correct, and we're leaving those.
Okay.
My question was, it wasn't clear to me how much you were asking us to write off.
Most of them are very small, $1,000 or less typically, with the exception of A, metric measures. They had purchased the lots, it was a large property owner, about 154 lots, and they had purchased them from the city or the county. And as we did research, we realized that at a certain point, we could not bill for prior months. So we prorated this, and we determined that there'd probably be a decrease, or there will be a decrease of approximately $47,000. That's our largest one.
But the reason that happened is because that never should have been billed in the first place. These were lots that had cheated to the county. And so once a lot is cheats to the county, we are not allowed by ordinance to assess them. So we couldn't start assessing until the county sold it to the third party. So we're not writing off $47,000. That's $47,000 that never should have been billed in the first place because the county owned them pursuant to escheatment.
Yeah, well, I agree. I'm sure you're doing everything right, but I just couldn't get from this here how much we are
We should have put
actually.
a total dollar, and my apologies, but I would approximate about $50,000.
Okay, but maybe
With
next
the
year
47, yes.
we can put the savings so we actually know. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
I
question
should have
the
done that.
decision.
My apologies. We'll do that next time. I'll put a summarized amount, but like I
Thank you.
said, A was the largest one, with the others being approximately about $1,000. So I would approximate about $50,000.
Very good.
Why
Do you
are
have any
we
others that-
agreeing to
any other
removing the
situations
late
like
fee?
this that might reoccur?
So I've got a note on here about policies and procedures and stuff that we're going to be implementing. We're doing an audit of all the properties in Sun and Lake and confirming that they're billed correctly. I don't know if it's ever been done before, so I'm going to start that.
So this may not be the only situation, but we don't know.
Possibly. I would say they're a rarity from what I've seen, but I just want to, I got to see what the magnitude is. Like I said, I think it's a very small amount, but I just want to have an idea so I can tell you guys, audit all the properties and be able to give you guys a number of which ones are correct, which ones we think might be incorrect. Like I said, I don't know if it's ever been done before, so I want to get something started.
On F, just, I'm not trying to.
No, you're
It said
fine.
you determined one lot needs to be corrected. And then you voted denial.
No, okay, yeah, and some of this may just be the way that it's worded, but that property was, if I recall correctly, they had two separate properties. They were only addressing an issue with one, and the reason they brought up the issue with one because it did not conform to the other property. So technically, neither property were billed correctly, but I think the grand total was a wash. So basically what we're trying to do is get it corrected so that it's, and like Dane said, we've got some classification issues where properties are classified one way and which is incorrect. And this has kind of been brought that to light. And so when we go back and we can make sure that all the properties are properly categorized, because then there shouldn't be any discrepancies if they're all properly categorized. If that made sense.
I think we need a better explanations if we're going to do this for next year. I mean, a little bit more, spell it out a little bit better. So
I could do that, yeah.
you know, we can understand what you're doing.
Yep, yep.
Why do we want to agree not to charge for the late fees?
That's up to the board. That's, like I say, that's because in the past, that's generally what we do when people are taking title to property that they're claiming that they're unaware of. So we said, look, we
Okay,
can,
these we're unaware of.
yeah, we can waive penalties and interest. We just can't waive assessments.
I thought they were just hadn't paid, and therefore now.
No.
It's just, okay. All right.
The majority of these were people that took title to property, didn't do all of their due diligence,
Right.
and so.
Any other board discussion? Public comment? Call for a vote.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Did you say me? Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
President Herrick?
Yes. Item 7E, dog park security cost. And do we have any documentation on that?
The motion in a second, real quick.
Pardon?
We need a motion in a second, real quick.
Well, I don't know that we got anything to look at.
Yeah, we don't have anything.
There's nothing.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't get pricing until really this morning, but I do have some.
Speak into the microphone, Bob.
I'm sorry. I'm Bob Brumfield, Road and Drainage Supervisor. I apologize for not having anything prior to put into the packet. But I have received some information this morning on this. Last meeting, I reported it for a standalone. It wouldn't communicate to our.
I would ask that you bring that back at the next meeting on the 30th. Coral, would you put this on the agenda for next week so that we have the documentation in front of us to discuss?
Okay.
Want a motion to table it?
Yeah.
So
Just do
moved.
yeah, motion to table.
I make a motion to table.
Any board discussion?
Are you going to bring back two proposals or one? Or?
I'll have two different options. One is just a standalone, a pedestal where you have to go to the pedestal and input the information and export the information. The other one would be hooked into our computer system at the rec hall that will communicate to the different pedestals, and it'll use the existing card system that we have now, like what we have at the pickleball.
And you're going to
court.
get together with Dan, and so you guys jointly make a recommendation?
Yes.
And I think we still need something in writing, what it's going to cost for the electric and stuff to all three. And you give us a price on two.
It would be a total
there's-
price for the total proposal.
Total, yeah, it's
Okay.
for each gate, this will operate each gate, three different
Okay.
pedestals.
Well, I just didn't want you to show up next meeting and not have that too.
We will have all that
Okay.
information.
Public comment? Vote?
Thank you.
Supervisor Hurley?
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
President Herrick?
Yes. Add-on items? Petitions and communications? Staff reports, golf, Mike Lemire, Jim. Could you make sure that these are printed out early enough that they get in our booklets prior to coming to these meetings? Thank you.
Yes, we'll get them in. Coral, you want those on Tuesday as well with anything?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we'll do then. Pretty much standard on our greens pack. We did Ninja Time last week. The greens, we got that all completed last week. We started our spring pre-emerge already, about halfway through that. Last week, we went and sliced all the compacted areas around the greens and as well as the tee boxes. And then we're following up with granular fertilizer. We have about 2 holes left to fertilize, and we'll have all that covered as well. We're still going to get about 3 or 4 more pallets of Bermuda sod and finish the Deer Run bunkers. We've been trying in the areas that have been disturbed from the bunker rakes or just worn. We're trying to fix all the edges so that they're good hard edges again on the bunker faces as well. Cart paths, we did repair I don't know whether everybody got to see it, but we have repaired the cart path on number 14 on Turtle Run. We have some additional blocks. We're going to add a few more to 14 Deer. And then I'm going to try to open up the runoff on number 3 Deer as well.
Only took 3 years.
I haven't been here 3 years, but I tried to get it as quick as I could. I think it looks good. We've had a lot of good compliments on it. So we're doing good with that. Dan and I rode a little bit. We're going to continue trimming up all of our trees, but we do have the large water oak that split on us this spring that we're going to try to take out on the right side of number 9 Deer. We're going to ride hopefully either this week or the first of next week and try to get rid of that tree. It's rather large, so.
The first one or the second?
It's the first one on the right.
Half of it blew down,
Yes,
and
it's
the other half is dangerous,
the
so.
one that split last year, the water oak. I think we need to put something back there, though. I think it's
Yes.
important. All right, I'll put a bunker, Ray, just for you.
Just for you, Ray. No, I told him if he takes one out, he's going to put 2 back.
That's right. Good job. Little baby Snoopy trees. Gotcha. Other than that, we're going to continue working on our landscape, trying to clean up some of the preserve over there. Some of the stuff that got overgrown this year, we're trying to clean up a lot of the underbrush on it and try to return it back. Hopefully one day the scrub jays can return there. But other than that, that's all we have. All I have. Thank you.
Jimmy, did we have, it seems to me, and maybe it was Earl, but it seems to me like you did something on the trees in the years to come and what you were going to replace. Is that all taken care of, or are we following that, or are we doing something different?
Well, the previous plan was to go remove the water oaks. I kind of, when I got here, felt like that I didn't want to take any water oaks that were in good health down. There was 10 or 11 on them that he identified. Some of them were split. The biggest part is, do we want to spend money to haul them all off, take the 11 trees down that were identified? So I still have it. That tree is actually one of those trees that was on that plan. So and I don't have a problem taking the trees down myself. I just need somewhere I can get rid of the debris at.
Well, I don't care what, I think you're doing fine, but I didn't know, I know we approved or said this is what we're going to do, and I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't care. I just wanted to know if we were going to follow that or.
Well, I'll look into it again, Mr. Gilpin. Like I said, there's some of them, we've lost some of them from the hurricane and stuff like that. But I try not to take a living tree down if I can keep from it.
Well, I trust you. I mean, it's just.
I appreciate that.
I didn't know if we were still on that plan or not, but that got trashed.
Yeah, I think ultimately Earl's intention was to take down the water oaks that are splitting in the middle.
Yes.
Because, that's what they do. And the ones that are dangerous need to go right away.
Yeah.
I went over that with Earl when we did it, and his thought was putting new stuff in there before you have to take these down unless they're dangerous. So I think we're probably still on the same program.
Yes.
Okay. And there was a couple additions and I can't tell you if you planted some, but like on 2, there was going to be a new tree planted. Is that planted?
It's
Okay,
been there, yes,
okay.
sir.
Very good.
As you're going around the courses, especially over on Turtle, but I think you can see it on both courses. there's a lot of places where the trees have been uprooted or at least knocked over. As we go around, I'd like to see some of that cleaned up.
At which, last week looking at some of the live oaks, Mr. Herrick, I'm going to try to stand them back up and stake them and see if we can get them to survive. They're so costly. So if it's a good viable tree, I want to try to salvage it. So I'll have to go in and jet the roots and try to stand them back up and stake them. But if I can save them, I'd like to save them.
That'd be fine. But otherwise.
The magnolia is behind 9 pump station. I've seen all
If
that. you
go around on 11,
Yes, sir.
there's quite a bunch of junk all the way along on 11.
11,
Turtle.
behind 11 Green's definitely an area we need to look at and clean up, definitely.
Yeah, we ought to talk about that, Jimmy, because you got to be careful what you do. Some of that's a scrub jay preserve.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But if it's down and dead, I'm talking down and dead.
They don't have a problem with taking trees out. They have a problem with putting trees back in the scrub jay preserve.
Okay.
I have a question on 16, the trap in front of the green. Is that going to be in the summer or?
Actually, I can go ahead and get it done. That one's small enough. It's just, it's going to take up the amount of dirt. Problem is right now is we're still pretty busy. But I have no problem filling it in. And
I know there's a lot going on. I'd
Deer.
just like to know when you think you can get to it now. We've been talking about that for a while.
16 deer?
This spring, this summer?
Yeah, just
I can.
best laid plans. That's all.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to still get it. I have the dirt now. We're still trying to get as much as, I don't have enough to do number 3 like we discussed, but I do have enough to do 16 now. I'll get it, Mr. Brooks.
I'm tired of going down in the hole.
Don't hit it there.
Yeah, I'm not going to make comments.
Can't hit it.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. Just to start off, don't have a whole lot of notes here. Obviously, we've been pretty busy at the end of December. We had the Citrus Golf Trail event, followed by New Year's, and then we went right to the Welcome Back tournament. But membership still coming in. We're kind of on our last little push for our normal membership. Usually right around here by January 15th is the last little push for the 3-month members that are coming in. So they typically would join before the 15th. And that's kind of where, from the notes that I gave you last time, that's been the biggest increase in the membership. So we're sitting at 97%. It's pretty good. Like I said, we should have a little bit more here within the next week. And then after that, it's onesies, twosies that are new people typically, and then our summer membership, which obviously is not a huge number either. But so the Citrus Golf Trail ladies, that event went off really, really well. We had great weather, started off a little cool, but it kind of helped us. The green speeds obviously got pretty quick for that tournament because of that. But the tournament went very well. A lot of great compliments from the competitors. They are really, really pushing for us to keep the event here, and obviously we are too. So we're currently right now sitting down looking at dates for next year. Next year's calendar is a little trickier because Christmas is on a Monday. So we'll have to see how that plays out, because I know there's another event that they go play in the very following week. So we need to sort out some dates. And then we're going to get that on the calendar. And as of right now, I think it's very good outlook that event's going to stay here for a while. I don't think the other courses can handle it personally with their staffing levels and everything they have. So it looks like it's going to stay here for a little while. So that is definitely the goal. We're going to keep fighting to keep it here, as it's a great event. We got a lot of good publications. If you just go Google that event, you're going to see, in a lot of amateur golf magazines, you're going to see a lot of good stuff and a lot of publicity we got out of that event. So our 10 supplemental carts, they should arrive probably late this week or early next week. I don't have an exact delivery date on that yet, but it should be within the next week. We do have the SFSC, I gotta say that slow so I don't mess it up. Shootout is Thursday, Friday, Saturday with the finale. It's a hole-in-one contest. They have to qualify for it, so there's 3 days of qualifying, and then Saturday night, we're actually going to do it at night this time. They're going to have the 10 best qualifiers will have a shootout, one shot on 18 on Deer Run for $1 million. So it's pretty cool. If you haven't been out there, see, you can come out there and watch it. It's a pretty neat event. We also have the JD Prescott Memorial Tournament, which is on Saturday, the 28th. On the F&B side, kind of already started into the month here. We are continuing our guest service trainings, still having our meetings. I know we're going to have another F&B meeting here coming up pretty soon. We do have live music on the 20th, which is a Friday, and we do have bingo night on the 31st. As I said, the first 8 days in January have been very busy. We're quite a bit ahead of last year at this time, so it's been pretty positive there. In general, we're still working on our capital projects. Those we're still waiting on those 2 ice machines that we ordered for Deer Run. I don't have a delivery date on those, but as we know, those things kind of taking forever. We are going to install new cabinets, nice countertops, more like they are on Turtle Run, just to kind of make those areas a little more aesthetically pleasing. We do have one is here, it's being assembled now, so we will be getting those in soon and look to get those ice machines in as soon as they can get them in. With that, I'll entertain any questions or comments.
I can't remember, were we going forward with the divider for the restaurant?
That was a discussion that I've been having with Dan. It's going to require some further discussion at this time.
That's up to you guys. We have not put out a request for proposal yet. We can do so if you wish. You tell us. It's in the budget.
I know it's, but we also have some surprise maintenance items that are continually coming up that
Right.
I'm not sure that we want to spend the $100,000 that we have tabled for the painting and the divider. Huh? That's a conversation. I agree.
You tell us. You tell us to do it, we'll do it.
Well, I'm in favor of the painting and, I can live with or without the divider.
I believe, we're already halfway through this busy season. I think we could limp that wall through another year. Probably have them come in and do some general maintenance on it, but that would just come out of our normal operating budget, but I can handle that for sure. As far as the painting goes, it's up to you guys.
I mean, if you look at the building, it's not impressive. And I was told, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can't even power wash it because you'll lose everything.
We're definitely worried if we power wash it, you're going to see a lot of, it's probably going to wash off a lot of the paint. So it might look worse if we power wash it. That is very correct.
Now, I know there was more than just the clubhouse involved in the painting. I could live with just the clubhouse being painted and be addressed. It looks terrible.
So are we talking about the outside of the clubhouse or the inside of the clubhouse?
Outside.
Outside. So Michael, what have you got for a price on that?
We get, that quote was 50K, right?
I think it was 50,000 for more than just the
For
But that was
all of the
for-
building.
Right.
painting. So it would be less than 50,000.
Right. Well,
Or we can
you
do it
come
all.
back-
I mean, it's up
can
to
you
you
come
guys.
back with a price just with the outside then?
Well, it is all the outside. I mean, just for the clubhouse. The only thing that I would mention on this is if we were going to make any color changes, then the buildings would all look different. I mean, the clubhouse and the cart barn do match each other, but as do all the other color schemes. They all kind of go together, but
Yeah, if you're going to start painting, you probably need to do them all at the same price. You'll get a better ultimate result.
that is correct too.
I mean,
Is that quote still good at 50,000?
But we would still have to go out for a request
It's
for
going to be,
proposal.
it'll be an RFP, but
Right.
I think there's enough room in there. It should be good.
Well, you can't do the painting until we fix the roof.
Right, exactly.
Probably not. That RFP is out. It went out last week. So should be back in, Dane, I don't remember exactly, February? Should make a final decision. The way the roof RFP is, you can do one piece, you can bid on one, bid on all. So it's going to be interesting to manage that whole process. I probably wouldn't have volunteered for that sort of thing, but that's kind of where we are. Yeah, and the people who do the roofs will then have 6 months to get it done, if I remember correctly. So do you want to do your painting now, or you want to do it after you get the roofs on?
I think we should do the roofs first.
I did
I mean, that's crazy to go out.
So.
You know, I mean,
let's
there's a lot of
table
work
painting
underneath,
until we get
underneath the
through.
overhangs that have to be fixed. There's, you know, where you drive up and drop people off, we have to fix all that. I mean, there's a lot of work there. So I think we should put the roof on first.
I totally agree with you on that as far as that goes, but that doesn't mean that if you guys agree to do the painting, we can start the process now, get it out to RFP, get the approval, and then get on the schedule after the roof gets started. If we wait too long to start the RFP, then it could delay the whole process, and it could be, you know, if you want to get it on the schedule, but
Shouldn't we make a decision whether we want to do it this year or not?
Yeah.
it's still
I
gonna
mean,
have to come
whether
back.
it's half the buildings or, I mean,
We could-
I'd make a motion that we don't do anything this year. Because who knows about the roof, when that's going to be done.
Right.
And if it's like anything else, it'll be done in October.
Right. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. We could start the process now. It goes to RFP. It still has to come back for approval, a final approval anyway after that, correct?
That's true. It's just paperwork at this point in time.
Right.
But it also all depends on how long they keep the price. So if you know you're probably 6 months out for getting your roofs all done, you probably want to start your RFP about 90 days from now.
Okay.
Something like that.
Well, we'll plan on that for now, and then that gives you time to,
And, up to you guys.
Yeah.
You tell us.
so that gives us a little bit more time then, that way you can evaluate
So
what you
what
guys
do we
want to do.
decide? You want to decide what he wants?
I like to get the roofs done first before we do anything else. Okay?
I think
All right, so here's my question. Can we put the clubhouse on first for roofs? That's the first roof we want done, and then move on from there.
Not the way the RFP is done. It had no preference as to what happens when.
Well, if we put it out for bid, I mean, it's out for bid
It's
right
already
now.
out, correct.
Right, okay.
So
we
we
tell
can't
them,
modify that without going back through the whole deal. I don't think there was any.
There's no language in there saying that be the first one and by any certain dates other than hopefully by the end of September is our goal date to have it all done. But
Right.
there's
Now,
no,
once we get the bids back in and somebody says, okay, and they win the clubhouse bid, then we can say to them, all right, when are you going to get it done? We need it. And that way we can
that's
go.
exactly what I meant. Right.
That's
So
doable. So we should know within the next
Do you
30.
understand that?
We should know within the next 45 days, something like that.
You have an RFP that's due in February. The earliest we would make an approval of the RFP would be March.
Right.
And if you're giving them 6 months to complete it, we're talking September before the roofs would be done.
Would have to be. They could be done before that.
That
But-
they have to be done, right.
They have to be done with that.
But
I think we make it very simple. Let's do this. There's two issues, I think. Do we do the 50,000 for the paint? Do we do the 50,000 for the door? Or
Well,
do we do one? Do we do both?
Well, the issue is, once you start ripping the metal off the top of the roof, when they throw them off, they bounce back against the wall. You don't really want to do the painting until the roof is done.
But let's leave it in the budget until we know what we're talking about.
It is in the budget.
I agree.
The other issue is, do we want to spend 50,000 for the door?
No.
That's another question.
Yeah, and we can table that till next year and have that discussion, but I think we're all in agreement that we got a little bit of time to discuss the painting.
All right.
So we'll just table it a month or two.
All right.
Good idea.
Can we have a-
All I can say is I just not in favor of spending more money on the golf operation. I mean,
Yeah, that's
we're not. I mean, it's
it's
just,
not the golf operation, it's clubhouse.
well, that's,
The clubhouse belongs to the community, not the golf.
okay.
All right.
Can I have a,
We can just delay this. There's
I don't think. we
nothing
can
has to
discuss it
happen, I
further
don't
right
think,
now.
David.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's nothing on,
no, there's
nothing on the
nothing
agenda
there.
yet.
I'm
There's
just-
been no motion, no nothing. We can do it in an appropriate period of time. We'll bring it back.
Okay, good.
The only other issue that I have a concern over is, this is a dumb question, who's picking the colors?
We're not even there.
We'll have to.
Not me, I can assure you that. Not me.
Well, I don't think it should be the supervisors anyway.
We probably should get,
We'll figure that out for sure, but
probably the lady that helped us with the interior design, I would think.
I'm sure she'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
You probably shouldn't tell anybody.
that Griffith?
This would be a big fight.
Yes.
Right.
She's pretty good with that.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
General Counsel.
Okay, I had a meeting with the county attorney back on the 19th. That went relatively well. Delivered the version of the proposed changes that the board had seen. She did not foresee any issues. The plan is to rework that into the language that the county likes, and then we'll bring it back to the board for final approval. But based on that conversation, essentially we would be on, or the district would be on the same voting schedule as the county, where we'd have 3 supervisors up for reelection on one at one time, and then 2 for another time. I'm not sure exactly the years, the specific years, but that'll come back to the board for approval. She didn't see any issue with that. So I've got a calendar to check up with her monthly on how that's progressing. So hopefully we can get that done and voted on before the end of this year and get it on the county books. But it'll definitely be coming back to the board for approval before anything else is done.
What about those terms that expire before this takes place?
And everything, according to her, that's not going to be an issue, and everything would just be extended. So we'll see how that plays out once the language comes back. But that's something I brought up to her, that we did not want to shorten any terms. She agreed. She didn't even think we had the power to shorten terms based on the current language of the ordinances. So
But
we'll see.
you're also lengthening terms.
Yes, correct. So when you get elected, it is for a specific amount of time.
Right.
So we're going to see how. I say that's up, in my opinion, that's up to the county. As long as it doesn't get shortened, and she's happy with the legal effect of it, I don't think it should be a problem. But we'll see how that language comes back.
Right.
Avanti lawsuit. Spoke with Mr. Rhodes last week on the 4th. With all the holiday stuff, he's still trying to get specific dates for a potential mediation. He's also trying to get to see if they're willing to make an offer. Once we have a date and hopefully an offer as well, we're going to set up a shade meeting. I don't think that needs to take place. In fact, I think it would be disruptive to try and do it during a regular board meeting. So once we have a potential date, we'll get a special meeting set, which will be not public. So shade meetings occur. We get a court reporter. We have a meeting with me, general manager, the board members, any other pertinent personnel, and have a discussion about the potential settlement. Court reporter takes notes of everything that occurs. And then if it settles, then all of that transcript becomes public record. But up until that, for negotiating purposes, it has to be what's called a shade meeting. So I'm hoping that we can probably get that done before March. That's what I'm kind of looking at right now. Only other thing we've really got going on, we got another lawsuit in from Auckland Pastures regarding some properties. I think it was 5 properties that they had not addressed before, but basically this is the bond 44 issue. In the past, it's basically already settled because the court made a ruling in the prior set of properties that they listed. I don't know if these are properties that they came into possession subsequently or discovered subsequently, but anyway, they're basically trying to wipe out the bond 44 bonds on those properties, and based on existing court precedent, that's probably going to happen. So I've talked to opposing counsel, and we're most likely going to enter in what's called a consent judgment, where basically we're not arguing, there's no facts to argue, and based on the court's prior decision that they're going to get granted the relief that they want. So rather than go through a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo, we're just going to let them have what they want without putting up a fight. Other than that, if there's questions, I'm happy to answer.
I don't know if it's a question for you or Dan, but have you heard any more from Hornick on the road going in?
Actually, once we leave here, I've got documents from Hornick. I'm not sure exactly which ones that they are, but they're that for some of the additional properties that he's purchasing that we're going to get executed. So I think that takes care of like most of the stuff that we've got going on. I've reviewed the plans with Dan. of what the proposal is going to be and the road entrance and stuff. And so I think there's still some planning and zoning that has to be dealt with, but I think that they've got all the, at least at this point, the property that they need to take care of that. The gopher tortoise issue is going to be something else that we'll have to bring back once we have a better idea of what it is that he's going to need. But it appears that the 25 acres, we told him he could have up to 25 acres for mitigation, and it doesn't look like that's going to be enough. So we'll have to see how much he does actually need and come back to the board with a proposal for that.
I believe our option agreement is that he can have a maximum of 25 acres, basically, that we provide free of charge as part of the option. Any more he has to buy, or we have to make some concession. He initially said he thought it might be an additional 25 acres, but he's not sure of that. But it would be the same price per acre as the rest of it. It really doesn't make a lot of difference to us whether it's streets or houses or gopher tortoises.
Does that mean he's got a lot more turtles than what we originally thought?
That's potentially, yes.
Okay.
I have a map showing little dots where they found gopher tortoise burrows. And I think over time, this thing gets to be bigger and bigger, but you not only have to fence the ones that you have existing, but I guess they have babies too. So you got to make enough space for the babies and everybody else going on. So it could be a substantial cost to him, not in terms necessarily of what he pays us, but in terms of not being able to build as many houses as he wanted to build. But we have the first phase. I have a copy of the plans. I'd be glad to show any of you of it. It's the first phase is basically single family, and then the second phase is multifamily that attaches right to it.
Thank you.
David, I got a question on the code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to go over that with the,
Yeah, I think the plan is we're gonna put it as part of the policy manual, incorporate it into the policy manual, kind of like we did the purchasing. You know, we have a whole a purchasing process, and so we're gonna put the code of conduct into that. We're just trying to do everything at once rather than.
did you have to go over over that with the county, the code of conduct?
No, that's not anything
That's
yeah,
something separate?
that's up to us, correct. Mhm.
So I don't think we ever voted on it. Do we have to vote on it?
Yeah, we're going to vote on it, but like I say, we're going to try and take care of all policy changes at one time and probably bring that back. I don't know if it'll be the end of this month, but it'll probably be the February meeting.
And I think you wanted to include pickleball in that, right?
Sure.
In the code of conduct, so you.
It's going to cover, it's going to cover all recreational.
Basically, all recreational.
Okay, thank you.
General Manager?
Finance.
Oh, I'm sorry, Finance Director?
Yep. First topic's Infomark. I'll keep it short. As everybody knows, we haven't received our financials yet. I'm voicing to them that we need to get them sooner. Like I said, I think one of the big reasons two of the big reasons is both the holidays and they had a data upload issue on their end, is what I'm being told. As the delay, I'll continue to voice that we do need them sooner. On that note, we are receiving cost data that me and Dan have gone over. It's just helping us making sure that we're following the budget and staying in line, and then and making sure that we'll meet end of year goals. Next issue is ARPA. We still not received any invoicing regarding items on the ARPA list. The Thompson pumps are the only items that we should receive. We'll reach out to them, see if we can get some better timing on when we'll receive them. I've also reached out to the county to inquire about the timing and deadlines of the program. I've not heard back yet. I'm again assuming it's due to the holidays. I'm going to reach out this week and we'll learn those details and get some insight into some other future ARPA programs if possible that we can take advantage of.
What ARPA do you think we're going to get receipts on?
The Thompson pumps.
Oh, there's $240,000 worth?
And there's some other items. There's some other items too I don't think have been ordered. We'll have to get with Dan and the utilities manager and see if they still believe we need those.
The
I think
pumps aren't-
those have been ordered, they're just not here yet. But what we have to do in the interim is build pads for them to sit on. And I just told you more than I know about that, but that's the best I can tell you. As I understand that it's a diesel motor that drives the pump as opposed to the generators like we currently have. So we're going to wind up with extra generators, 4 of them when it's all over with, that we can use to.
But the other 231,000, is that going out to bid or? we're not
It's,
doing it,
it's
or-
in, it's in different pieces and it's, as I understand it, in process. We can get with Brandon.
We're the ones that are doing it, right? We're sending out the bids for it.
Yeah, that's correct. And I've got to find out where we are in the process. Chris was handling that, so I've got to find out where we stand with all that. As far as I'm aware of, I don't think any of the other ones other than the Thompson pumps were put out, but
Because the
I could be
offer,
incorrect.
if I remember correctly with the agreement, there is a date on it that we have to get things
Yeah,
accomplished.
and like I
by.
said, that's why I'm going to reach out. I've reached out to the county already, but I haven't heard anything back due to the holidays, I think. So I'm going to reach out again this week and develop a relationship with them and find out.
Some of
when-
the stuff has already been input, the what is it, SCADA, the basically the
SCADA
reporting
system.
stuff, SCADA.
Parts of that are on the ARPA, but not.
Yeah, parts of it have been done, parts of it haven't, parts of it's coming.
All right, the next item is the RFP for the hail damage. Just last week, we sent out the RFP for the hail damage incurred in April. We used both Demand Star and the newspaper as a way to post it. We set up an intent to bid notice with the due date of January 19th and a mandatory pre-bid conference on January 23rd. So we'll keep you updated with the progress of the bidding and the award process.
When is
Is
the final bids?
In February. And I think we have a meeting at the end of January. We'll keep you updated with all the, just how it's going and where we're at in it. Next item is the FEMA hurricane damage. We have close contact with our representative from FEMA on a weekly basis. We have another meeting this Thursday to discuss some various topics. We'll continue to update you with any pertinent items. We're really in the beginning stages still and hope to know more this week. On a side note, we are looking at repairing the cart barn fascia/roof using in-house labor, as we don't anticipate the cost being greater than $2,000 to $4,000. We decided to go this route versus going through our insurance. And we don't believe at this point FEMA would actually pay for that. After hearing from Scott Kerouac, I'm going to reach out to him and get some contacts, see if what they did differently than what we're doing. We like I said, we have a contact that we meet with weekly who's kind of guiding us through the process with FEMA, but it does make me question how they were able to get funding so soon.
How does the FEMA money work? We upfront the money and then we get reimbursed?
That's correct.
Is that it?
Yeah, the biggest number will be the Columbus Boulevard washout. I don't know if you've been out there or not, but it's $250,000 probably. Washed out the road. There's several. We've put out about close to $40,000 on Estrada Street, which is out in Unit 2 between, I never can keep them straight, the streets out there, but Estrada is the name of it. It's a little short street, both ends of it washed out. Those have been redone. We're just waiting now to complete it because the asphalt plant has been closed down for 2 weeks now. They're supposed to open, I think it's Thursday, and that'll be finished. It's about $40,000 on that, and we should get reimbursement on that as well. It's hard to figure out where you are because you're spending money now that you're going to get back. So how does that impact your budget and where you going? But yes, we got basically 260,000, I think, on Columbus that's got to be done.
Isn't FEMA, aren't we claiming around 750,000?
Correct.
Something like that.
Not all
There's
that.
a lot.
like I
There's
said,
a lot
not
of
all that
money in
work's
trees
been
on the
done.
golf course, which have already been taken down and out. It's the paperwork is unbelievable, but we're working through it on a weekly basis.
Dan, is there FEMA problems on Balboa with the drains that got washed out or not?
I don't think so. The washout was in the big storm prior to the hurricane.
Okay.
All right, next item I've started a monthly meeting with the different managers to review their segments' financial performance, where we're looking at cost savings and making sure they're on track with their individual budgets. That was just an update. I've also started setting up a database where we're able to store all repairs and maintenance data for all manholes, streets, paving, or street paving, culverts, fire hydrants, lift stations, etc. I don't think this was done previously, but we can use this to determine the condition of our different assets and allow us to set up a maintenance schedule and be used to help management by giving them clear tasks and timelines. So it allows us to be a little more proactive versus reactive. So basically, we're going to have a list of every item, whether manhole, lift station, streets, and we're going to have timelines of when they need to be maintained, when they were last maintained, and the condition they're currently in, and as they progress through the year. So at least we have some data we can look at to give us some kind of idea of the condition of the state of our condition for those different assets.
That would be great.
Yeah,
great.
And finally, it was just the bank signatures, but I think that's been taken care of. And that's all I have.
Thank you. General Manager, Mr. Stiegel.
Okay, I had added a couple of things this morning in addition to the thing I already sent you Friday. Monday meetings are difficult because stuff happens, seems like every day. We this week finished 23 additional manholes were inspected and sealed in December. Some of them we had to rebuild the floors in them. 10 of those were in Unit 2, which is up in the front up close to Florida Avenue, and 12 of them were in Unit 13, basically along Granada, and one was on Frontage Road. That's an ongoing process that puts us up to 81 or 2 of our 200 manholes that have been inspected and sealed in the last 4 years. Depending on how much money we wind up with having spent in some of the other stuff, I'd like to do another 20 this year if we can get it done. That way we would be basically half through. We have replaced 2 leaking fire hydrants, and we have a contractor assigned to inspect all of the rest of them, flush them, and provide an updated report on all of them in the district so that we know exactly where we are and how long it has been. Those should be inspected on an annual basis, and we will be doing that going forward. That will be part of the process that Dane's talking about. DEP required us to issue or to drill 9 new monitoring wells at the Unit 23 wastewater plant. Those are being done this week. The cost was $23,024.95. I don't know exactly why they wanted us to do that, other than those were old, just like the plant. So I guess it's possible that they could be sealed at the bottom or something. And when the government speaks, you have to listen. So our permit is up for renewal this year, so we want to make sure that we get everything done. I am not arguing with DEP. Polson Engineering is doing a replacement skimmer on the water retention pond. If you go all the way out Sun and Lake Boulevard to Balboa, on the left-hand side, there's a stormwater retention pond there with a concrete dam. On top of that is a skimmer that keeps debris from getting washed into their deal. It got blown out in the big storm of September. They're designing it for it now, and hopefully we can do that in-house and hopefully save some money on it. It's just an aluminum barrier. They're also designing skimmers for the intake on the retention pond on 16, basically parallel to Calatrava. One of the issues with Calatrava is the ditch was probably adequate until the 2 intake structures in the pond got covered with debris, and then they didn't function, so it came down the ditch parallel to Calatrava and caused us a problem down there. So we're going at that about three different ways. One is we're putting skimmers on top of those intakes that'll keep the debris from getting into it. B, we're going to expand and widen the ditch going all the way down the left of 15, and then we'll go behind the houses on Calatrava and probably double the size of that ditch as well. We have had our people go in and with our skid steer clean it out so that the track hoe can now get in there and scoop it out. And so that'll be a much more cost-effective way of doing it than building an 80-something acre pond that they initially started talking about doing. We're meeting tomorrow with Mastery. Mastery is a company that builds generators, and they have a contract with us to inspect our generators on a semi-annual basis, all of them at all of our facilities and all of our lift stations. We had several that didn't perform as we wanted, so I'm meeting with them tomorrow to discuss that situation and why and what we need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. The meter replacement project is on schedule. We had answers back Friday on all the interrogatories that we sent the two responders that we thought were appropriate. It looks like one of them actually did what we asked and gave us a bid to put the meters in and lease them to us as opposed to us having to buy. So that would assist our cash flow substantially. It's about $1.8 million by the time it's all over with if you had to buy them. The initial cost, according to them, was $185 the first year, and then $268 the next 4. And you have an option to buy at any point in time you want to do based on the useful life of the assets.
And they maintain during that first 5 years.
Yes. Most of the Matanzas residents that we're trying to assist with the check valves, as Ms. Strike was talking earlier, have responded to us. I think I have 8 of the 12. And we gave them today to respond. So those who haven't, by the time the day is out, we'll start contacting them tomorrow. There are some issues there, as always. There's title issues and somebody passed away and who's it going to and that sort of thing. The two that are most important, or the ones that are most important, I already have a response from, so we can probably proceed relatively quickly. I have one more that's one of the two that were incorrectly connected to the low pressure main, and I have not responded, gotten a response from them. I have one response. Mr. Price has responded. The other one has not. The stormwater pipe that is in between Sugar Bay and Magnolia Place has been collapsed somewhere underground for some time. There's about a 4-foot hole in the ground out there right now behind some people's houses. I have KDL getting locates and going to fix that this week. That should be fairly inexpensive because I don't think the structure itself is the issue. I think it's the pipe underneath. So it should be just a matter of digging that up and replacing the pipe. I say not expensive. Everything's expensive these days, but not as expensive as it could have been. We're working on a revised organization chart. And Cindy will be part of that organization chart. Our newest hire started about 2 hours ago. She will be addressing, yeah, and she may be run screaming for the door by the time all this is over with. She'll be in charge of communication and the community services, and she has a great resume. I think I gave you all her resume, so welcome. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to start working on a strategic plan, updating that. I hope to have that ready for you in March, if not before. I have maps from Duke Power showing the location of all the streetlights in Sun and Lake as they now exist, and we used that to plan for the additions in the 23-24 budget. We now have a current budget of $65,000. That covers only the price of the power for the ones that exist today. So if we double the number, that you'll have to double the price, and then I think each one of them, if you put them in, is about $2,000 per. So we'll have to figure out how many we got to have and how much we can afford to do when. So we'll be working on that and coming back to you with a plan to be included in the budget.
Dan, what would constitute ones that we gotta have?
Pardon?
What would constitute a light that we have to have? What would be the problem?
That's going to depend on you guys.
Okay.
For example, Manor Hill has more than anybody, but they want more, but they don't think that's enough. They exist in most of our places except for the new houses that have gone in the last year or so. So I think priority has to be where there are none and bring everybody up to the same standard. And then if you want to add in, that's fine.
Does your list include the streets with nothing that they gave you? Do we have to do that on our own? There were
Yes.
streets up.
Yes, it is a map that shows the existing lights, and then we can go in and say, we want to put one here and we want to put one there.
So we'll be able to figure out, because with the new construction, they don't have any lighting,
Correct,
and they theoretically should be first.
correct. They'll be, that's basically what I'm saying. The places that, like San Ignacio, who has none probably needs one sooner rather than later. And the ones that are being built now would be on that as well. So we'll just have to figure it out. And I just got them last week, so I haven't had a chance to really spend any time on it, but I will do so prior to budget.
Dan, have they given you a price per light?
They gave it to Chris. It was about $2,000 per light.
Per light.
Plus
Installed.
boring. If you had to go under the street or whatever. You know, Duke Power would like for you to put one in essence, here, 2 houses, put one on the other side of the street. So you go leapfrog. So you, in essence, got a light every 4 houses, I guess. That's a lot of money. I'm not sure we can afford to do that. And I don't think any of our stuff is up to that standard. But, you know, you can do the best you can do and then fill in as you go down the road. Right. So we don't have to go from a wagon to a jet plane to a rocket ship overnight.
Okay.
But I'll have a plan for you. We met with Florida Rural Water Association last Friday to go over their, it's an epistle, I guess you would call it. They look at our wastewater plant and say, this is what you ought to do. These are your 3 options. So we're trying to get that straightened out. Once we get all that done, then we can go to the state and say, we need a new wastewater treatment facility, or we need to revise this one, and this is how much it'll cost, and we need to borrow that much money to do it. So that is moving, although much slower than I would like to see it. I'm sure slower than you would like to see it, but you do what you do the best you can do. I did get a price back on Friday on revising the 2 tennis courts. We have 4 tennis courts. We're revising 2 of them to be tennis or pickleball. The price is $5,600 to restripe the whole area into 6 pickleball courts, which is relatively inexpensive. Then you got to put in nets, however, and those things are more expensive. The price I got initially was $2,000 per. So all told, then you would be less than $20,000 to have 14 pickleball courts instead of 8.
And that's what we were supposed to get when we resurfaced to begin with.
Correct.
Did we include those nets and stuff in the original when we talked about the resurfacing project?
Not to the best of my knowledge. I don't remember that we included the nets.
Okay.
Are we converting these permanently, or are they going to be, they can go either way?
They can go either way.
So, wait, do we have to appropriate money? I mean, if we decide to do this, because they've been asking for this for a while. So if we decide to go with it, do we have to come up with more money? That's my question.
Come up with more money?
Okay.
Yes, you have to come up with $5,600 more plus whatever the nets cost. So it'd be something less than 20 grand. You have 6 new courts for less than 20 grand.
But that's what I thought we were getting when we agreed to the resurfacing, is that's what we were supposed to get.
That's what we thought too, but apparently that didn't
So-
work out that way.
I want to move forward. If that's what we thought we were getting, let's get it.
Okay.
But it's just another project where we're going through reworking what we thought we had done correctly to begin with.
If that's consensus of opinion, then I can certainly get that done for you. The thing about it is that if you order the nets, they're about 20 weeks out. So you're talking 5 months. So it won't happen until next fall anyway.
So should we order them now? I mean, so should we move on with it now then?
If you want to make that motion, I'm sure we
I
can
like
get
to-
it done.
I like to make the motion to move on with it. We waited long enough. We thought we were getting it before. It was a mistake on it. And I mean, there's a lot of people over there playing, so I like to make the motion to move on with it. And what do we hold it at, 20,000?
It'll be something less than that. I can, if you want to approve up to 20, I can do that and I'll get you details on it.
Okay. I like to make a motion to move on and appropriate 20,000 to get it finished right this time.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further board discussion? Any public comment? Yes, sir.
Daniel Garber. Are the street lights that were being discussed, are those now LED lights or are
They
they
would be, the new ones would be.
the new ones, but the currents?
I think we replaced most of the ones in Sun Lake now with
Right.
LEDs.
The currents are LED. We changed them a few years ago.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It was like 3 years ago. Okay.
Does this pertain to the motion?
This is a general question on the, what Dane has brought up. No.
Not right, no, not right now.
Let's finish this.
This is a motion on moving ahead with the redoing of the pickleball courts, the tennis courts and pickleball courts.
That's the subject, and this is not related to something else on the clubhouse.
Okay, later, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Call for a vote.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips, President Herrick.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Apparently this was quite an exciting weekend at Sun and Lake. I noticed that someone had managed to run over the street sign at Ponce de Leon and Sun and Lake and knocked it down, so we'll have to be replacing that. And then I got a call yesterday actually a text from Brandon George, who's our utility guy. Someone ran off 27, ran across the ditch, which is about 6-8 feet deep, back up the other side, ran over a 4x4 sign, ran across the backflow presenter at the macular degeneration building, jumped the curb, ran through the parking lot of the new Biospine building and into the side of it. Somehow he managed to scatter parts off his truck all the way along and still managed to drive it away or get it towed away. I don't know, it's gone. So we have reported it to the police. They came and took a report yesterday. I was out there this morning and talked to the contractor. The Biospine had water at the time I was there. The macular degeneration building was not open, so I don't know if they were, but we'll have to have that repaired somehow. And I don't know if we figured out who did it or not at this point in time. I had to come to this meeting, but it looks like it was a tank going through there. I think that with that being said, I think that's the end of my report unless you have questions for me.
Yeah, I got a couple, Dan. Basketball courts, what are we doing with that?
Nothing that I know of unless we wind up with a situation where it becomes a problem with the new playground.
If it becomes a problem,
Well,
again? You mean, is that what you mean? Okay.
yes,
Okay, so we're not doing anything.
not at this point in time that I know of.
Okay. Okay, Calatrava, I know you took me out there.
Right.
And I looked at it, but if we get a big rain, are they safe? Before it sounds to me like we got quite a project before we get them help.
I think they are safer today than they were when it happened the last time, because we have cleaned the ditch. Or is it the way I want it to be? No. The
Okay,
best I can tell you.
So you're sure that if we get a big rain, they're not gonna flood again, or?
No, we're not sure.
I didn't say
We're
that.
not sure.
Okay. Well,
I hope they won't. We've done everything I can do in the short
I'm
term.
just saying, if we can, maybe we oughta, I know we don't know exactly how deep and wide to do that, but maybe we ought to make sure that we do a little, that we don't have that problem again.
I'll talk to Drew and see if I can get that expedited.
Okay. And the Matanzas stuff, it's the 4 that if they don't, I know today's the deadline, if they don't, what do we do with those 4? Do we just go ahead and fix it, or?
We can't do that. We can't go on their property without, and modify their equipment without their permission. So if they do not respond, then we'll have to either contact them, and they may or may not, they may elect not to do it. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't. But that's the reason I suggested that we not ask them for a contribution.
Okay, well,
This is kind of a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
but-
that's what I thought, and I just wondered what we do if they say.
We just need permission. We need permission. If we can't come to agreement, if they don't sign the agreement, we don't really have the legal authority to do it. But we can document that we made the offer to them and that it was rejected.
And we can still do the rest of them though, if they elect not to. That doesn't stop us from doing everybody else's.
Okay, that was my.
Isn't it our intent to reach out to them if they
Yes,
haven't responded?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
But, I know I have been told that one of them is deceased, and there's a question about who gets it and that sort of stuff. So it's it's never as simple as it ought to be.
No,
Okay, thank you.
that's all you had, right, Dan? Bill, what was your question?
Bill Norcross, resident. Dane brought up some clubhouse repairs and paint jobs and fixing the slider and everything else. And I just think the expenses, $50,000 to fix that room divider is a lot of money. $50,000 to paint a building when you can paint 10 houses at $4,000. So I just hope they kind of review the cost of that. That's $100,000 for a paint and slider. I think we could do a lot better. The other question I had is that on the damage of the roof, how long has that been? Is that damage done by Hurricane Hope possibly?
No, that was the hailstorm. Hailstorm back in April.
Goes back for a long time? Wow. I know that the front of the building was repaired a few years ago. And I didn't know if that what kind of it's still a problem. That building is what, less than 12 years old, and you got a metal roof on it and it's leaking?
It's not
I don't
leaking.
get it.
It's not
leaking. The damage is due to the hailstorm, which it may leak in the future. Our insurance is going to pay for it.
That's why my next question is that covered by insurance, hopefully?
Yes.
FEMA? No.
No.
Insurance?
Hailstorm.
Hailstorm
And
did
it's not one building. I think it's 26 buildings that would be painted.
You know, we went through a repair on a brand new roof, so I sympathize with anybody here. But it really, the cost factor just
It will
seems
be
to
reviewed.
Really,
It's going to be reviewed.
yeah.
It hasn't even gone out for proposal yet, request for,
I know Mike brought up quite a while ago to the front of the building. His men could actually do the pillars out front, update it a
it'll be
little
looked
bit.
at, Bill. The whole
That
thing
was
will be looked at.
$25,000.
We'll look at it.
Okay, so seriously, that's what
I
I'm concerned
understand.
about is a cost factor.
I understand. Thank you. Any other follow-up items?
Yeah, I got one. We talked, where is Miguel? Is he still here?
He's back there. Yeah.
There was an outstanding survey that was done. He did it back in November. We never got to it at the meeting, and we still haven't gotten to it. It was a traffic survey he did on San Ignacio Drive. And according to this survey, we need to do something about it. I know it's not on the agenda, but it sure as heck should be for next meeting, since it's been here since November.
Yeah, add that to the agenda for the next meeting. Now, I don't want necessarily a staff report. I want action item for the traffic study done on San Dionisio.
It's San Ignacio 4934, if you need that. He's got the information.
Other follow-up items?
Yeah, I got one other thing. I saw the welcome back package and I thought it was very well done. However, I thought the golf contribution or the Indigo contribution to making an offering to the new homeowners was embarrassing. So I think the package is great. It needs to be enhanced. To give away on a business card, on a second visit, a free appetizer doesn't do very much for me. The rest of the package I thought was very well done.
Yeah, after the conversation, I'll have something else going in there by the end of the week, so I'll get that over to Ariel. And we
Yeah,
got
I mean, it should be something on a full page in the paper that we've done. Okay, thank you.
New business.
None.
Discussion to and from the board. I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Brooks for his service this past year. I think things went fairly well. I think we went through making a budget in record time this year, and hopefully we can get that continued. So if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
2 hours, that must be a new record.
It is. Definitely a record for
Yeah, I'm in.
It is good.
And I'm gonna go change. No, that's okay, 'cause I mean, nice to meet you. Yeah. Oh, wow. We'll have to take care of that.
Budget?
Oh, yeah, monetary stuff. But you're one of the two.
I'm not voting for any bus.
I see.